Welcome, once again, dear viewers, back to Tera Online. I'm still in Ostrogoth. Now I'm in the Gallery of Lust, where I've got the quest, Pride of the Protectors, where I have to kill Labyrinthine Stalkers. It is suggested that I bring a party of 5 to do this. My goal, as always, is to do it solo. Sorry it's been a while since I did these. For whatever reason, I simply haven't had the time to jump in and actually do some more dancing with BAMs. And add to that, to be honest, I was kind of scared of fighting these guys. He looks all big and mean and stuff, but on top of that, I was fighting him in such a small area, I was really worried with how this was going to turn out. And to be honest, this is actually an accidental dancing with BAMs. I was trying to record some B-roll for my 25,000 subscriber video. I wanted to run in, get beat up by one of these things, and die at the end, and then the death would be the thing at the end of the video, but I just didn't have any good deaths. And eventually I just started to get a handle on the fight more and more, to the point that I could actually fight him and potentially take him out. So a couple tricks to this fight that actually made it a lot easier was, first of all, the dude is actually really easy to handle in mid to long range. It's close range that he's actually the most dangerous. That hole in the middle of the room also causes a fair amount of trouble. The dude will walk around the room, he'll get close to the edges of the room a lot, he'll get close to the center where you're stuck going around this thing in the middle of the room a lot. Don't be afraid to haul him back and just try to get him to a point where you can actually fight him legit. That was me. Well, he was stuck in the corner. I couldn't really see what he was doing. I couldn't see that he was getting ready to jump at me, so then he was just kind of diving at me, and I'm going, oh, what the crap do I do now? He's just kind of right there. You see, now he's in a really good location. I tend to circle him counterclockwise. I was originally thinking it was best to circle him clockwise because I was getting hit so much in circling him counterclockwise. That was me being dumb, and actually me almost forfeiting this entire match. If you get hit by that pound, that's just about the end of the fight for you. It puts a nasty poison on you, it slows you down. You can see right there I've got very little health left. But I know what I'm doing. I've got this. That was me being dumb. Toss down a potion, give this another go. Especially since I know I can outlast him at distance. But he's got a couple different swiping moves, and despite that I was thinking I wanted to go clockwise instead of counterclockwise, I ended up finding that it was just not easy to hit the right point, to get to a safe spot in rotating around him. So I went back to going counterclockwise, and even in going counterclockwise, I'm gonna get hit half the time doing it. Be careful, of course, you can always spin around just like always. But what I found is, instead of trying to hug him as tightly as possible, you'll actually, because his hitbox is not a circle, you actually want to back off away from him just a little bit before you run that circle. It'll help you get around him a lot easier. And this is a lot of the trouble that I had run into, especially since a lot of the BAMs I fought up until now trained me to hug the enemy as tightly as possible. Don't do that here. Leave just a little bit of lax. You want to get around behind him and stab him in his left butt cheek. You can get one swipe in, that's about all you got. Now he's got 2 attacks when his eyes go shiny-like. And this is actually something that I had a huge amount of trouble with. Was, of his 2 attacks, both of them start the same way. His eyes light up, and then he rears back. However, one of the attacks, when he rears back, he will immediately stomp his left foot. That means the attack he's going to do is a sort of charge forward, where he swipes 3 times. This is a good one to stay close to him, so you can get behind him, and I can get in my nice 1-to-3 combo to take him out. However, he has another one where his eyes shine, he rears back. He does not stomp right away. He waits just a moment, then stomps. Now when he stomps this time, that's an AoE around him that pounds the ground, and that is what puts, that attack right there, that is what puts that really nasty poison slow on you. You do not, under any circumstance, want to get hit by that attack. That should be your utmost priority, your absolute priority. Don't get hit by that attack. Now you can see I actually changed out some of my moves down below. I moved my 5 over to 6. So now my 6 is my leaping strike, and I changed my 5 to also be what my 4 is, which is the backwards leap stun. Now I did that, admittedly I don't really need to do it now, but I did that while I was trying my darndest to stun his big special AoE attack. Now, he can do the eye flashy attack often enough that I can't just stun him always. I can't just see his eyes flash and stun him, because then he'll turn right around and do the other attack, and maybe the other attack is the one that I was actually really trying not to get hit by, in which case I'm just kind of boned. So I was actually focusing really intently on being able to watch if he stomped with that foot during the animation. And if he did, I had just a fraction of a second to stun him before he actually did the attack. I found in doing this that I could not consistently hit 4 to stun him. Half the time I'd hit 4, half the time I'd hit 5. So that's why I put 5 on as the stun as well, so it didn't matter which one I hit, I'd stun him. I eventually deemed that I couldn't do it consistently enough to last the entire fight against him. I just couldn't do it. I had it down and I could hold it up for a while, but I'd still mess up every now and then, and messing up every now and then and getting hit by that AoE will end the fight for you. So what I ended up doing was just going back to the tried and true method of why didn't I think of this sooner, also known as just dodge rolling away whenever his eyes shine. The recast on that's quick enough, as long as I've got MP, it's not a huge deal. However, I find I'm dodging around enough that I do lose a lot of MP fighting him, which is why I was trying to get in the habit of hitting my F5 and F6 to get some MP back. The trouble, of course, being hitting those buttons in the middle of a fight is a quick way to distract me long enough to actually get hit by something. Which you saw me get hit there a moment ago, and that was sort of why. Doing the poundy attack, weasel my way behind him. He will do the poundy attack. He'll do a couple swipes, then he'll yell forward. He will always yell forward, so you've got a little bit more time to react to that and to actually hit him than you'd think. However, if you want to get in an extra swing after the 1 to 3, you really have to be on the ball and get your combo done quickly. But that's about it for the fight. It's sketchy, and you're gonna get hit a lot. Thankfully, you can kind of work around it. Just a lot of his attacks are really good at hitting you one way or the other. There's just not a huge amount I can do about it. Now, of course, what I was worried about most in this fight, before I actually started the fight, was him going into jerk boss mode. Because in this small arena, I knew I couldn't run away from him. Like, I can't keep enough distance from this guy to actually do that. As it turns out, as I mentioned before, the guy is actually really easy to handle in mid to long range. It's close range that he is most dangerous. So, when he goes into jerk boss mode, I just run away and keep my distance from him, and it's actually pretty easy to keep my distance from him, even in an arena this small. I don't have much room to move, but it's pretty easy to handle. In fact, I'll even do that if he does manage to hit me with his AoE pound. I'm running slow, so I'll just back the crap away from him, and it's a lot safer than trying to stay close range against him. But the size of the arena in which I was fighting this guy is actually sort of why I was holding off for so long in doing another Dancing with Bands. After the initial Dancing with Bands live stream that I did ages ago, things just got busy really quickly for me, and I didn't have time to play Tera at all, much less to do something as time-consuming as a Dancing with Bands. So it just kind of fell by the wayside in that regard, and I got out of the habit, I got out of the mood of playing Tera. I wasn't in the mentality of like, alright, I don't have anything to do for a minute, so I'll boot up Tera and see what I can do. I just kind of got away from it, and I knew I needed to get back into it in order to do another Dancing with Bands. But some of the barrier there was knowing that as soon as I got back in, I had to do 2 Dancing with Bands. Now, I was getting really greedy there, and that was kind of a bad idea, but I managed to pull that crap off, and I'm not entirely sure how. But I knew that I had 2 Dancing with Bands set up. I'd done every other quest I could do. I was stuck doing 2 of these things. So I was kind of hesitant, knowing, because I've mentioned before, I have some vague form of, as I call it, boss anxiety. I don't like fighting bosses, especially if I know it's a high skill boss. And if I quit the game and say, hey, I'll just get back to fighting this thing later, then if I know the first thing I have to do is fight a boss the next time I boot that game up, I'm actually very hesitant to boot the game up. It takes a lot of willpower to boot the game up, knowing the first thing I have to do is fight a boss. So, knowing that the first thing I do when I boot up Tera again is do 2 Dancing with Bands, and they're both enemy types that I've never fought before, and they're both indoors in these tiny little areas. It just took a huge amount of mental prowess to will myself up to boot this game up to do this one. And really, I think the only reason I did it was because I wanted some B-roll for the 25,000 subscriber special. I went into this knowing, not expecting to win. I went into this thinking, I'm just gonna die a couple times. I'll get a good death recorded and that'll be it. And maybe that'll help get me into doing this again. And lo and behold, I was victorious. And heaven help me, this was not an easy fight to learn either. I went like the first 3-4 deaths against this thing just ticked off because it felt like I had no chance. It felt like I had no expectation. There was no way I was gonna win. There's no way I could beat this thing. And a lot of that's just because, as I said, this guy is most dangerous in close range. It took me a lot of beating on this dude to eventually figure out how best to approach fighting him in close range. And even then, you see, I still get hit every now and then. There's just not a huge amount I can do about it. But I will say, just dodge rolling away whenever his eyes flash was a huge help. Huge help. And of course, I didn't dodge roll there because I figured I'm pretty sure I'm far enough away from him. And I still got hit, so now I'm slowed and poisoned. I'm at long distance from him, so I'm trying to... Well, this is more mid-distance from him. But I'm at mid-distance from him, so I'm generally safe-ish until it all wears off. Hit another potion to go back in. The couple attacks this guy has at long range, by the way, he only really has 2 attacks. He'll, leap at you, which is simple enough to dodge as long as you're watching him. Watch for the animation, it'll look like he's about to jump, dodge out of the way. And then he'll throw fireballs at you, and the fireballs are hilariously easy to dodge. If you're not standing still, they won't hit you. Just keep moving sideways, and you're pretty alright. He even does that at close range every now and then, which, thank goodness they can't hit me at this range. But yeah, that's about it for this guy. A surprise dancing with BAMs. An unexpected, an unintended dancing with BAMs. I had no intention of actually beating this guy, but here I am. So that's 1 down. I still have 1 more to do, and he's actually in the next room. 1 more of these sons of guns to do, and then I'll actually be able to play the game proper again. And if I can get to that point, maybe I'll be more inclined to get back in and run around again. Now, this guy gets winded once you get him down this low, and the getting winded, I actually think does almost more harm than good. I say that for 2 reasons. Because, first of all, whenever he gets winded, he walks a very short distance before getting winded. Now, walking that very short distance can do a couple things. First of all, he can troll walk over you, which he'll get winded so you can stand back up. It's not a big deal if you get hit by if he troll walks over you doing it. But it's a little bit extra damage done to you still. The other downside is that a lot of the fight against this guy is positioning. And to be honest, I don't know how I got so lucky fighting this guy this time that he was almost always in a good position. I very rarely had to try to pull him back into a good position. But you'll have him in a good position where you can fight him and hold your own against him, and then he'll get winded, which means he'll walk a short distance and take himself out of that good position. So not only can it actually do a little bit of damage to you, but it can take him out of position to make the fight harder. heal back a little bit, since my 3 actually heals me. I have to remember, especially when he gets winded, that I can do my 1 to 3 on him. Well, I can't do it now because the timer's not up. But he's ticked off, he's pretty low, 4%, but I don't want to risk it. Especially knowing that handling this guy at long range is pretty easy. All I have to do is keep my distance. Now, I try to have a little bit of distance to move left and right. So I don't like walking to the opposite corner of the arena, because then I don't have much anywhere to go that won't take me closer to him. So I try to move, I guess if you think of the arena as a square, with him standing at one corner, I try to stand at one of the 2 corners adjacent to the corner he's in. Now, because I was dodging back and forth there, I was actually having kind of a... I was almost getting hit by that fire. Just because I was doing a really bad job of dodging anything. But we got him down low enough, should be pretty easy at this point. He'll occasionally try to psych you out and just kind of yell at you and like move forward and go, ah! It doesn't do anything. 1%! We've got him! Just gotta wait for a good opportunity to get in the finishing blow. Oh, and he's winded. That ought to do her. Pick up my rewards, and in beating him, I do believe I actually unlocked another quest. The best offense is dentistry. The Labyrinthine Stalkers are what I just killed. The Azarel's Juggernaut, I do believe, is the one I'm gonna have to tackle next time. So until then, everyone, between now and then, I don't know if I want to fight 3 more of these things.